Hi, I'm Craig Hermes, and I've been living the HIV story now for, 14 years. Found out about 14 years ago when I was working in the music industry in Los Angeles, and it was a huge bolt from the blue. It was pre-protease inhibitors, so finding out on the same day that you were HIV positive and full-blown AIDS was a lot of information to try and assimilate at the same time. You're thinking, oh my God, I've got to book the Madonna advertising. Like, that was the last thing I really needed to do, but you have to kind of learn to juggle your new priorities when you have a health diagnosis like I did back then. I was working at the time for Virgin Megastores. I loved the company, loved it, loved it, loved it. It was a really frenetic, busy time, and I firmly believed that if I had stayed in that job, which I did, like, I don't know if I said this before, but I loved it. If I had stayed in that job, I wouldn't be here today. I did the absolutely least logical thing you could do upon finding out a diagnosis like mine. I quit my job, threatened my access to health care, and I went to Southeast Asia for a year and a half in Central and South Asia. Thailand, Burma, Cambodia, and Laos. Came home and was like, I'm not done, I need to go back. So I went and spent about a year in India and Nepal, went into Tibet, and just had a phenomenal time. I was very much on a very spiritual journey, because as I was evolving my worldview of what it meant to be living with AIDS, it was very much coming into my understanding, at least from my own perspective, that it was very much a dis-ease of the spirit. It was hitting marginalized communities, people that at their very core didn't feel that they necessarily were a part of the mainstream, and if you've got a loop going through your brain constantly like that, I think it has very serious repercussions on health. I had the great good fortune of meeting with Panchakarma Ayurvedic masters in Kerala and going through their cleansing treatments. I had the great good fortune of meeting two of the Dalai Lama's physicians and talking with them about HIV. I was very open in my status from the get-go. In fact, I have back here, whoops, excuse me, I'm tipping over. Back here I've got the biohazard symbol. I got that in 1996, which was a very bold move, I would say, at that time, because I got a lot of flack from the gay community about it. They thought I was glamorizing it or trying to sexualize the idea of being positive. That was not my intention at all. My intention was to, hey, this is something that needs to be discussed. You do know people that are HIV positive. Many people were in this bubble of, oh, it hasn't affected anyone I know. It's like, screw you, it affects everybody. And I will not be ashamed of it. There is no dogma or stigma in a virus. It just happens. And I by having this tattooed on the back of my neck that could not be covered by a shirt in a work situation, it became a point of discussion, particularly when I was still working at Virgin and on Crixavan trials, and had to be fasted 9 hours out of the day, go to business lunches, and people were like, what's the matter, why are you not eating? You know, instead of just saying I'm not hungry, it afforded me the very great opportunity to do some education and to just speak about it with complete ease. And it gave people the chance to create a dialogue around what does it mean to live with HIV. Kind of a cool thing that in retrospect, because I never see myself from the back, was I'd gotten another tattoo of my favorite temple in Nepal. And it's the Swayambhu, not the monkey temple, and it's the eyes of Shiva as he's attained enlightenment, or the eyes of Buddha, excuse me. And I had that tattooed on my back, and looking at its placement within the context of the biohazard symbol. The biohazard is placed right above the third eye. It is very much a metaphor for my spiritual journey about what HIV has been for me. It has been such an intense, burning hot, awful, and wonderful catalyst for personal growth, for growing my compassion, my empathy, my responsibility for knowing that all of us are connected. It's just this illusion of separateness that allows us to be cruel to one another. You know, the cruelty hasn't gone away. I had the great good fortune of working for the California AIDS Ride and then helping create AIDS Life Cycle for the San Francisco AIDS Foundation and the LA Gay and Lesbian Center. Two phenomenal organizations. I'm alive because of them. Let me just get rid of that. Just needed a sigh of gratitude. And I mean, they're phenomenal events. The outstanding community that is AIDS Life Cycle has saved my life, very literally and figuratively. And they're coming up on their 10th anniversary, and they have a great T-shirt which says "I'm a 10," and it's for people that have enrolled. Well, it's a great t-shirt in a perfect world. I was wearing it through the Castro the other night, and this snide bear with his snide drunk bear friends looks at me and goes, "You ain't no 10." And I was like, you know what? Fuck you. Fuck you. Why should anybody accept the gay community if we're so fucking cruel to ourselves? We have to love one another unconditionally. Thank God we're different, because I wouldn't want to be like you and you wouldn't want to be like me. But it's the individual dance that we do that makes this beautiful tapestry that we are. One of the other great good fortunes I had was working for the Breast Cancer 3 Day. I loved that community. The women were at the very forefront of being there for us when we were sick. And it was just a chance for me to repay that. And also, I'd lost my grandmother before I was born to breast cancer, so I mean, there was familial history with that as well. I remember it was interesting. I was the crew coordinator, so I was in charge of the 500-person volunteer crew for the Breast Cancer 3 Day. And the women were very suspicious of me, like, shouldn't you be fundraising for AIDS? And I was like, I am fundraising for AIDS. But that was such a baffling question for me, because once you start becoming compassionate or empathic, it goes out in all directions. It just doesn't go that to which personally affects you, and that which affects any of us, it affects all of us. So it was my obligation to help, and I loved it, and it was a great experience for me. And like, you know, I raised funds for all kinds of things that are important to me. I climbed Kilimanjaro and raised funds for Pangea, which does AIDS relief in Africa, and for the Diane Fossey Mountain Gorilla Fund. People are like, why are you raising money for gorillas? There's 350 of them in the world, and I want there to be gorillas for my niece and nephew. I have the great good fortune of having the passion and the ability to inspire and the chutzpah to go do things that are impossible. I'd like to tip my hat to Dan Pallotta, who created the AIDS Ride, and the whole model for challenging yourself beyond what you normally think to be you. He definitely lit a fire in me, and I appreciate that. I'm saying a lot. That's the little blue light in the camera that's staring me in the face that makes me say I'm very grateful the whole journey. Some of the ugliest, the most beautiful gifts come in the ugliest wrappers, and HIV has been an enormous catalyst for personal growth. I'm very grateful for every step of my journey. I wouldn't change any of it. I mean, sure, I'd love not to be positive, and I'd love to live 30, 40 years more. But if I were to die right now, if this very sturdy looking photo booth were to fall over, I would just stand up, take a bow, and say thanks. It's been a great run. I've lived a lot longer than I thought of, but apparently when you're living up to the archetype or archetypo of the phoenix, you just keep going and keep spreading whatever that is, the kind of voodoo that I got. But I'll show you my tattoo now, and then we'll be done. I promise not to pan down and look at my love handles. But that's the biohazard symbol and the eyes of the Buddha after he attained enlightenment. So thank you, HIV, for helping me with my enlightenment. And I'm not there yet, but it's certainly giving me an appreciation and a compassion and an ability to be better. And I really, truly feel that the breast cancer community and the people that are the HIV warriors have come at a time to help us remember that we do have empathic heart connection, that we are our brother's keepers, that we are all just one beautiful thing. We're all just individual cells of God's creative imagination.